Hello and welcome to Odds on Nations League. We have the semi-finals in Italy. We have Italy, Spain, we have Belgium, France. So let's analyze these games with Daniele Fisichella and of course with you. Leave a comment below with your predictions and don't forget to click on the like, subscribe and click on the bell to get notifications. And now let's go on with the show. Semi-finals of this newly created competition, Nations League in Italy. What two games, Danny, we have? How are you?
I'm all right, thank you. So international break, it comes now one every month, but now we got the second edition of the National League final. So let's see who gets the trophy after Portugal. Italy, the Europe champions, are hosting it. They will play Spain, but the World Cup champions, France, in the other semi-final, play the number one team in the world according to the FIFA ranking, although they haven't won absolutely nothing for the last 60, 70, 80 years. Probably they never won nothing at a major level. So yeah, the other one is France, Belgium, of course.
If we check the outright odds actually for the tournament, Italy and France are right now the favorites. So let's start analyzing the first semi-final at the Giuseppe Meazza or San Siro, Milan, Italy, Spain. And we remember just in the semi-finals of the Euro, a very tough game, Italy-Spain, with Chiesa and Morata scoring. But the first thing that we have to take in consideration, Danny, that this is absolutely a different team from both sides, because Florenzi, Belotti, Spinazzola, Castrovilli, and now Immobile are out for Italy, and also Spain have very big absentees.
Yeah, and it's gonna be a different game. So forget about the semi-finals in July in Wembley. Different teams, different motivations. Also, this comes right at the start of the season, so I'm not sure the intensity is gonna be the same. Probably not. And both teams, yeah, they have to make changes. Spain is the one that has to deal with more changes and more absentees. The list of absentees, it's very long. Morata, Gerard Moreno, Dani Olmo, Thiago, Abel Ruiz, Jordi Alba, Carlos Soler, Gaia, Carvajal, Adama Traoré didn't even get a call. So it's a lot of different names from Luis Enrique. Correct me if I missed anybody. And it's pretty much a new team. And Luis Enrique did what normally Luis Enrique does. Surprises everyone with surprise calls. Calls two young players, Brais Mendes and Bryan Gil, from obviously from young players. But most importantly, he calls Yeremi from Villarreal and Gavi from Barcelona. So again, a new bunch of players. Good idea, but you know, that's what to expect from Luis Enrique. He wants soldiers that gonna stick with his philosophy 100% and not gonna question it. Now, just a question to you: why didn't he call Brahim Diaz, who's playing so well for Milan, for example? Why did he left him out? No Real Madrid player? Okay, Real Madrid is not having a great season. No Sergio Ramos, I understand it. He hasn't even played for Paris Saint-Germain. But surely someone like Marco Asensio could have been in there. So again, a very experimental Spain with a big question mark. Who's going to be at center back? Because Garcia is having a very poor season at Barcelona. So again, Pau Torres and Laporte. Laporte only played 2 games for Spain since he got that injury, and then he got that called up. So I think Luis Enrique here could be caught in two minds, because obviously he wants to experiment. He want to give young players a little bit of experience, but in November there is a massive game against Sweden to make sure Spain finishes top of the group and doesn't go to the playoff. Look, I'm gonna give you one very quickly. The favorite is the home team here, Italy to win, 251.
I really like the odds, to be honest, for Italy to win. I think they are very generous with Italy playing at home and with all the absentees you mentioned. And one player that surprised me a lot, Sergi Roberto being called for Spain.
Yes.
That is a terrible player. Danny, and talking about Italy, we have bad news for them, or for your national team, because Immobile is out, for instance, and he is always a very important player both for Lazio and for Italy. But one positive thing is that we are seeing Zaniolo with Roma playing better. And you mentioned the last time we spoke about Italy, about the hangover that most of the teams have when they win big tournaments. There were 2 draws. The first one was very unexpected against Bulgaria, but then a very positive draw against Switzerland, and the last result of Italy was a 5-0 result against Lithuania.
Italy is unbeaten in 37 games. He holds the world record, a record that I think it could continue well into these Nations League semi-finals. It was normal, the slow start in the September qualifier. It always happened. The Serie A starts a couple of weeks after the other major leagues. Yes, there was a little bit of hangover. Against Switzerland, they were unlucky. They had the best chance. They missed a penalty as well against Jorginho. The Bulgaria game was a weird one. Again, the first game of the season for many players. So I wouldn't read too much into it. What Mancini has done is called the same group that won the Euros, plus Pellegrini, who plays for Roma and is being one of the best midfielders in Europe so far. He scored also the weekend against Empoli. I'm afraid there is no Zaniolo. He's been left out. So unless there is a last-minute change, Zaniolo probably not yet ready. He's getting better, but obviously he could be the new face, and he could give new energy to this Italian team when it comes to the World Cup qualifiers in November. Big game against Switzerland again, but they only need a draw there to make sure they're first, but also the World Cup next year. So Mancini will start gradually putting it into the squad. Obviously, the issue with Italy is who do they stick at centre back, because Chiellini and Bonucci, they are not eternal. Also, we saw it in the Juventus team. Allegri not often plays them together. So there is the opportunity to give a game to Acerbi, who's been okay for Lazio so far, or Bastoni, who's 22, who probably is one of the best, or could be one of the best centre-backs in Europe. Has been playing for Inter regularly for the last 3 years. Now, when it comes to Italy, the goal could be a problem, as you mentioned. No Belotti, it's been injured for a while now for Torino. No Immobile, who, in the beginning of the season has been a bit patchy, and he's been criticized a lot for his recent forms in the national team. Sometimes I feel the way Mancini plays, a lot of quick passes, a lot of interchanges, quick movements, is not exactly Belotti game. Immobile's game. Immobile likes to run with a ball in behind. We saw in the derby against Roma how lethal he was. But credit to Immobile, despite all the criticism, he keeps going. He keeps his profile low. He doesn't respond to that. So I think he will always be in Mancini's squad, but not for this one. He'll probably have to go with Raspadori up front, or maybe Moise Kean, Scamacca. So again, new faces for Mancini. So I can't see a lot of goals in this one, also because of Spain's absentee. So both to score, no, for example, that could be a good one. 1.91, so only one team to score, or it could be a stalemate. It could be a 0-0 maybe in the 90 minutes, of course.
Yeah, that's good, Danny, with so many absentees. If we check the over and under market of goals, for instance, under 2.5 goals pays only 1.71. So the bookies don't expect many goals, of course, at least 1 or 2. The last time these teams met in Italy was also 1-1, was in 2016. You told me already that you expect Italy to win. You expect a low scoring game, but it's also true, Danny, that Spain is usually very hard to predict. We are coming from a break in September where they lost, you mentioned, against Sweden, and then they beat Georgia 4-0 and 2-0 Kosovo. But it's a team that sometimes they play way better against strong teams, as we saw in the Euros, and struggling against weak teams, as we have seen in the World Cup qualifiers.
And let's not forget, in these Nations League qualifiers, almost 1 year and a half ago, they beat Germany 6-0. Again, now they got a lot of absentees. I think the fact with Spain is they always try to stick, or they want to stick to Luis Enrique philosophy, playing attacking football, possession football. Sometimes they suffer against teams that apply a very low block, so defense deep. Teams like Sweden, teams like Poland at the Euros. With Italy, it's going to be different, because I think both were going to try to dominate the midfield. And we saw Spain putting the Italian defense in danger in the semi-final. Okay, forget about it for a moment. But if the philosophy, if the principles are the same, We saw the Spanish midfielder being able to control the game after 50 minutes. Spain were the better team in semi-final. I think Italy were a touch lucky. They couldn't deal with neither Morata or Gerard Moreno between the lines. They're not going to be featuring this, but if Luis Enrique wants to play the same sort of game, if they do manage it, I think they could be dangerous. However, as you said, it is unpredictable. Spain has a little bit. The young players are growing. I think it's a team that we saw in the summer. It's got a lot of potential. They've done well at the Olympics as well. So I'm expecting them to beat Sweden in November. I'm expecting them to qualify first in the group and be interesting team to consider, at least in the top 8 for the World Cup. For this one though, as I said, also the time of when the game arrives is difficult. I'm gonna give you another odds that I like. I think in the first half there could be under 0.5 goals. It could be cagey. That pays 270, so very high odds for a 0-0 in the first half. Or if you like, Italy to take the lead. If you think Italy, obviously the odds are good. Italy to score first at any time, 1.95.
Perfect, Danny. I think we have now all the information for this Italy-Spain at the Meazza, placing Italy favorite, but with really good odds in our opinion. Let's move on with to the other game. Belgium-France. This is going to be played in Torino. Therefore, a very special game for Didier Deschamps, going back to that city where he was also managing Juventus. The last game between these two teams was in the World Cup in Russia, and France have very good memories about that one. 1-0 victory with Umtiti scoring. But the reality, Danny, is that if we take in consideration the last results of these two teams, Belgium arrived more in form, at least. In the break of September, they were brilliant compared to the hangover that France were having after the Euro.
Yeah, and if you look at the stats, Belgium to score first could be a good bet. Also because the last time Belgium didn't score was in that semi-final against France. They lost 1-0, 2018. Since then, they always score, and actually they hold the longest sequence of scoring at international levels, 38 games. So that's impressive. Look at the numbers, for example, of somebody like Lukaku. You can really tell that under Martinez is doing much better. Before, he scored 17 goals in 50 games before Martinez. Since Martinez arrived, 50 goals in 50 games. So, 1 goal per game, pretty much. Okay, there are the qualifiers in between, there are the friendlies, so sometimes, Belgium score 6 or 7 in those games. We saw them easily, but, it is a team that can find the net quite easily. Martinez, I like what he's trying to do. He's trying to rejuvenate, to change the squad. So forget about the golden generation. It hasn't delivered. So now Martinez is bringing new players, also from the Belgian league, which usually produces talents. So, Martinez is also looking at the country where he works to get some players there. So we already saw Hans Van Aken debuting or playing a few minutes in the qualifiers before. He's in the best form of his career. The Bruges midfield, De Ketelaere as well from Bruges, doing well, European experience in the Champions League. There is no Jeremy Doku who plays in France, so that's why De Ketelaere comes in. Is a good opportunity also for Mertens, who's coming back from an injury, top of the league with Napoli, played a few minutes in Florence yesterday. They won, of course, so opportunity for him. So again, a bit of changes. Obviously, the backbone is always the same. You can tell the Belgian formation by memory, but they got the same issue that they had at the Euros, the defense. I think the defense is old, it is low. Alderweireld now is playing for Al Duhail. Boyata probably starts. He plays for Hertha Berlin. This is the worst defense in the Bundesliga. They conceded 20 goals so far. Vertonghen moved to Benfica. So again, I think a step back in his career. Obviously, they got the quality up front. They scored 16 goals in the Nations League qualifier a year and a half ago. They were the top scorers. The nation scored the most. They could concede both to score. And now we're going to talk about France in a minute, but both to score 1.95.
Yeah, Danny, I was going to ask you if this could be a goal feast since Roberto Martinez has only called 4 defenders for Belgium, but France, there is no Giroud again. I don't know if they have also scoring problems. It looks like Griezmann is the only one delivering in the last games, and also France are conceding a lot of goals, 7 goals conceded in the last 5 games. So do you expect a lot of goals in this second semi-final?
And also there was a stat that we analyzed during the qualifiers. Before the last game France played at home, I think they conceded first in the last 5 of the 6 games. So they always tend to concede first because, yeah, there is a little bit of fragility there. I mean, with France, we saw that, and we say many times, they got a lot of depth. They got a squad. They might even be able to fill 2 squads of equal quality. The problem for the champ is how do you fit the pieces of the puzzle together? And for me, the main issues is who plays on the left-hand side, both in defense and up front. Because, okay, Benzema, Griezmann, Mbappé, they are starters all the time. But who do you put on the other flanks to balance the team? I saw them playing in Ukraine and they had Coman there with Martial playing up front. They looked unbalanced because Coman tend to drift into the middle. Martial was, staying on the center left. They had a bit of a hole there, a bit of a gap, and Ukraine exploded it quite a lot. Then again, the left back, I think Theo Hernandez deserves to start ahead of Lucas Digne. Yesterday was fantastic for Milan playing against Atalanta. I don't see why the champ still goes with the Everton left back, which is it's a good pair of hands, but I think Hernandez can provide much more, especially if in the advanced position at the left you have to go maybe, for example, with Rabiot or someone less attacking, if you like. Again, Rabiot, very dilemma. I don't quite understand where he plays. But the France midfield, it's strong, although they will be without Kante because of COVID. Tchouaméni from Monaco is having a good season. One will play alongside Pogba over 2. Let's see if Pogba maybe plays more in the advanced role. I think he prefers that. We saw it in Manchester United when he plays in the middle alongside Fred or McTominay. He doesn't quite like running back. Surprise call for the champ, Matteo Guendouzi from Marseille, from Arsenal. He got called up. And, he rediscovered his spark under Sampaoli and Marseille. So that could be an interesting one. I think he will feature definitely in the tournament. Look, again, I'm going to go on the goals market for this one. We said both to score 195. Over 2.5 goals, I think, is a great odds, 2.21.
Goals. And before, Danny, in the video, you mentioned how Belgium is still the number 1 in the world, or they say that, but they've won nothing, and they usually disappoint in the biggest stages. In the World Cup in Russia, we just mentioned how they lost that game against France. Was the last time these 2 teams played together. Also in the Euro, they lost against Italy. And they had a very tough group, actually, in this Nations League to qualify for the semifinals with England and Denmark, that are 2 of the best teams right now in Europe. Since they are disappointing, Belgium, that's why probably France are slightly favorite, but still we have good odds. Do you also place France favorite against Belgium despite the last results of Le Bleu?
I do, because I think there is something with Belgium that doesn't convince me. As I said, and we saw it in the quarterfinals, they lost against Italy, is the defense, is the way they sometimes get attacked, they get taken by surprise by teams that got better pace, and I still think sometimes Belgium lack that tournament mentality. They're not been great in knockout games recently. Yes, they qualified well for the Nations League, but I don't know, I think France has got something more, although of course they come from a disappointing Euros. That 3-3 draw against Switzerland was really bad, the way they let the games go, but I still fancy France for this one. I think the final will be Italy-France at San Siro, and Belgium and Spain will play on the final for the third spot. But obviously, as I said, there is a caveat. These are the previous Nations League finals. They were played in June 2019, so at the end of the season in Portugal. The teams obviously, all the players have completed the duties with their club. It was different. This is in the middle of the season, bang on. There are injuries, there are players not available. There are obviously, I think the players know that yes, the Nations League matters, but what it matters is that at the end of the national break, there is the league, there is the Champions League again. This is a busy season. So again, it's very difficult to read too much into these games. They are glorified friendlies. Let's not face it. San Siro is not even going to be full capacity, 50%. I know they're struggling even to sell 37,000 tickets for the semi-finals. So, take everything with a pinch of salt. Anyway, last tip, because I see France favorite, France to score first, 1.95.
I think that's very important what you said, Danny. We are talking very seriously about these semi-finals, but let's not forget this is the Nations League. These are almost friendly games against four very big teams in Europe. And well, the trophy is not as important, of course, as the Euro or as the World Cup, but still, of course, we are talking about important games, and we can place good bets with very high odds. As we are seeing, everything pays pretty good for these two games. Perhaps, Danny, even we can add a little bit more of salt, as you said, and make an ACCA and maybe get higher odds.
Well, I mean, if you have to watch a friendly, why not watching a friendly against top teams? That's why I'm gonna watch the games anyway, and that's why I thought let's do an ACCA. Yes, to add a little bit of interest. So the ACCA is Italy, Spain under 2.5 goals, Italy to score first in that game, France to beat Belgium, and France Belgium over 1.5 goals. That's pretty easy. Total odds 12.31.
Brilliant, Danny. Well, then let's enjoy these two glorious friendly games that we have on Wednesday and on Thursday. And Danny, see you very soon, because there are also very important games that matter a lot in
the one that matters. Yes. Okay. Speak soon. Bye.
Well, you heard Danny. These are his predictions about these two games: Italy, Spain, Belgium, France. What do you think, guys? Who is gonna win? Who is gonna be the two teams that are gonna play the final? Let me know in the comment sections, and don't forget to click on the like, subscribe, and click on the bell to get notifications. And remember also, we have a podcast for you. See you soon.